Picture this November 1989. In our world, students filled Prague's streets, candles flickering, chants echoing for freedom. The communist regime, weakened by decades of stagnation and inspired by reforms sweeping Eastern Europe, backed down. Police withdrew, leaders resigned, democracy bloomed. But here, story bends, the regime does not blink. Secret police strike harder, rubber batons replaced by bullets. Student leaders arrested, Havel dragged to prison once more. Instead of peaceful transition, velvet revolution breaks. The square empties not with joy but with fear. The first shock hits Prague hard. Families that used to whisper about hope are now sharing warnings. Parents are telling their kids to stay quiet and avoid protests, scared of what might happen next. It's a tense time, right? Churches still gather, but priests watched closely, sermons silenced. Writers burn manuscripts, fearing raids. Students, once symbols of courage, vanish into cells. A young girl who in our world waved flowers at police here flees as sirens wail, her hope crushed. For regime, survival intoxicating. Hardliner sees narrative, Czechoslovakia will not fall like Poland or Hungary. They double down, purging moderates, reinforcing censorship, aligning tightly with Moscow. Soviet Union, itself crumbling under Gorbachev, finds lifeline in loyal ally. Kremlin points to Prague. Rebellion can be crushed, lives across Czechoslovakia twist. A dissident playwright silenced, never becoming president. A miner in Ostrava who dreamed of wage reform remains under quotas, coughing in shafts. A teacher who hoped to teach history honestly, forced to parrot party line. Families line up for bread, shortages worsening but complaints stifled. Youth dream of emigration but borders sealed, escape impossible. Europe trembles in our world. Velvet revolution symbolized inevitability of Eastern Bloc collapse. Without it, domino effect stalls. East Germany still totters. Berlin Wall perhaps still falls, but slower, bloodier. Czechoslovakia's peaceful model really set the stage. Without it, Bulgaria holds tight, Romania gets tougher, and Poland feels all alone. The end of the Cold War, way more chaotic and violent. Western leaders are totally stunned right now. In Washington, Bush is in a real pickle. Freedom seems to be spreading, but Prague is pushing back hard. NATO is just playing it safe, worried that a crackdown might spread even further. What a mess, huh? The Western press is filled with jaw-dropping images, not of students celebrating, but of beaten bodies and blood staining the cobblestones. It's so heartbreaking, you know. Sure, there's sympathy, but where's the real action to back it up? Czechoslovakia becomes last fortress, pariah but symbol of defiance to change. Culturally, devastation. Prague, which in our world bloomed with jazz, literature, film after 1989, here stagnates. Musicians are silenced, art gets censored, and theaters are closing their doors. Kafka's celebrated everywhere else, but here, it's banned. Tourism's dried up, industries are rusting away, and honestly, everyone's just feeling pretty low. It's a tough time, you know. A child grows up with gray blocks, ration cards, propaganda, never knowing taste of freedom. For Soviets, lifeline temporary. Gorbachev embarrassed, his reforms weakened by Allies' brutality. Soviet Union still collapsing, but Czechoslovakia props up illusion. Hardliners in Moscow are really feeling bold these days, and that 1991 coup. It's looking like it's gaining some serious momentum. The Soviet collapse feels like it's been pushed back, and now reform is crawling along at a snail's pace. Eastern Europe is stuck in this mess for even longer, and it's wild to think about how this impacts everyday lives, right? People are facing uncertainty, and you can just feel the tension in the air. It's like a roller coaster ride with no end in sight. Lives outside Prague altered too. In Warsaw, Poles despair, solidarity harder without Czech echo. In Berlin, East Germans hesitate if Prague's protests crushed. Why risk? Berlin walls fall delayed, Germany's reunification postponed. Yugoslavia's turmoil worsens without strong European momentum for democracy. Balkans bloodier. By 1990s, Czechoslovakia stuck. Rest of Eastern Europe democratized, but Prague still gray. Sanctions bite, economy collapses. Dissidents exiled, students restless, protests smolder but suppressed. Families hoard, black markets thrive, corruption rampant. The world's definitely shifting, right? NATO is moving at a snail's pace, the EU feels a bit wobbly, and Russia seems to be gaining strength in the mix. With Prague stuck under communism for so long, Moscow has really stretched its influence. It's a wild ride, don't you think? The Cold War didn't just wrap up in 1991. It lingered on like a shadowy fight throughout the 90s. America was all over the place, stretched thin, and honestly, the vibe was just less hopeful. By 2000s, Czechoslovakia isolated, neighbors in EU, NATO prospering. Poland's moving forward, Hungary's getting cozy, and Germany's all about unity. But Prague, it feels stuck, like it's missing out, censored, and a bit bitter. Young folks are leaving, and it's really hurting the country. What's going on? A doctor smuggles family across border, a programmer sneaks into Austria, a mother weeps as daughter never returns. Culturally, exile thrives. Czech and Slovak writers, musicians abroad celebrated, but homeland muted. Václav Havel wasn't just a president, he became a symbol, a martyr in prison, with his name quietly echoed in the streets. Those streets renamed not for democracy, but for the old guard. By 2010s, regime totters. Old guard clings, economy in ruins, but protests harder with decades of scars. Czechoslovakia still feels stuck in an authoritarian vibe, caught between East and West like a Cold War relic that just won't fade away. Would this world be better? For regime, temporary control maintained, ideology extended. For Soviets, fragile boost but eventual collapse inevitable. For Czechs and Slovaks, tragic freedom delayed, culture stunted, generations lost. For Europe, darker Cold War longer, reunification slower, optimism dimmer. The Velvet Revolution was like a shining beacon of hope in our world. It showed us that we could fight for change not with weapons, but with candles and peaceful protests. It proved that freedom could come without a single shot being fired. How amazing is that? If it had flopped, Czechoslovakia would have been left with deep scars, Eastern Europe's freedom pushed back, and the Cold War dragging on longer than we wanted. So, what do you think? Could Prague's students have been crushed forever, or would freedom eventually bloom no matter what? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe to Sheriff Reactions. Smash that bell for your daily flips. We dive into what went down and what could have happened instead. It's gonna be fun.